The tropical savannas in northern Australia are prone to devastating wildfires. To limit this destruction and lower carbon emissions, a fire abatement program was set up in remote Arnhemland, tapping into traditional fire management techniques. 5 years on, and it's abated 500,000 tonnes of carbon emissions in the Northern Territory. And as the federal government moves towards bringing in its carbon tax, federal Labor politicians are keenly interested in its success. But for traditional owners, the Western Arnhem Fire Abatement Program has far greater meaning. It's created jobs and enabled them to stay living on their homelands. Louisa Rebgetz reports.
Well, this is our traditional land. Our people used to live here. They've been living for thousands years ago.
This is the stunning stone country of Western Arnhemland in the top end. It's just a small part of one of the world's largest tropical savannas. The climate and dense landscape mean the practice of burning has existed here for thousands and thousands of years.
Fire is really important because we use fire in many reasons. We use fire in open ceremony or in man's secret ceremony. We use in many ways.
But when you talk to them in their own language, they have a very subtle, a very nuanced and a very complete understanding of the impacts of fire. And the detail of that knowledge, that really does blow me away.
That traditional knowledge is being utilised through the West Arnhemland Fire Abatement Project, using mapping systems to decide where to burn small capsules that self-ignite are dropped from the air. Fire breaks are formed to stop large wildfires, which account for about 40% of the Northern Territory's annual carbon emissions.
We're simply using the knowledge that's been developed over 40,000 years and then reapplying it with some modern technology. The results are that we've reduced wildfires dramatically in the late dry season and improve our greenhouse emissions standards.
The project is funded by oil and gas giant ConocoPhillips as a way of offsetting its emissions from its Darwin LNG plant. And it's working.
In the last 5 years, we've offset or reduced emissions by about 800,000 tonnes, about 8 to 10% a year. So it's not all of the emissions, but it does represent a significant portion of them. When
the Northern Territory Government and ConocoPhillips and the traditional owners first signed on to create the project, I think there was a great deal of scepticism. You're going to do what? You're going to burn the country to save greenhouse gas emissions. I don't think people believed that that was doable.
The success of the program has now drawn interest from Canberra, where the federal government is confronting public opinion opposed to a price on carbon.
When we used to talk about fire, we all recognised that there was too much fire in some places.
The Parliamentary Secretary for Climate Change is taking a first-hand look at the way the Savannah Burning Project works. His visit comes as the Carbon Farming Initiative goes to the Senate this month.
This is an area that's going to be available. Projects that reduce emissions, such as this Savannah Burning Project, are going to be available on Aboriginal land, just as they'll be available on freehold land and other land titles, land tenure arrangements across Australia.
At the moment, ConocoPhillips has no financial incentive to be involved in this project. That could change next year under the federal government's carbon pricing plans.
We've voluntarily participated in reducing our emissions. When you start putting a price on carbon, then there becomes more of a financial incentive as well. Ultimately, if there's a trading scheme, we would hope that this would be one of the things that would be considered as an offset and could therefore reduce the tax that you pay associated with your emissions.
Okay, so this is a product that was developed by the Tropical Savannas CRC.
For the people of West Arnhemland, this project means a lot more than just lowering carbon emissions.
Most important with this program, it gets us back to our land and stay here and work for our young people to work to have money.
This outstation, Kapulwanamyo, wouldn't be functioning if it wasn't for the fire abatement project. People live in tents as there's no government funding for housing or infrastructure on outstations. But being here, working on country and away from the complexities of community life is appealing.
This is our home, like, most of the old people, they want to live here. They don't want to go back to Gumblanya community. That's where they come from. They don't want to go back. They want to live here. Because like, most important thing to live on the country. They want to live here forever till they die, and they want to be buried here.
It uses private enterprise who are paying for offsets for greenhouse emissions. It uses Indigenous knowledge. It uses cutting-edge science, and it uses the latest technologies to deliver fire into the landscape. And it shows how thinking differently about fire management means that you can actually achieve a change in the fire regime. And we're hoping that by 2020 we'll have sort of a quarter to a half of the Northern Territory managed in this way.
It's dry season in the tropics, and now's the time